Tiny Toes, it's Tiffany.
Image of a woman standing in front of trees, holding a sturgeon plushie as a microphone.
I'm here at Abernathy Fish Technology, and today we're going to talk about sturgeon. Let's go!
Opening animation. Text that reads, U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service presents. Opening animation. Text that reads, Tiny Tales, Discovering a Wild World. Episode 1, Sturgeon. Image of a plush sturgeon placed in front of a sign that reads, U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service, Abernathy Fish Technology Center. Underwater image of a white sturgeon.
Hi, I'm Christine Parker Graham, and I'm a veterinarian with U.S. Fish and Wildlife
Image of a woman wearing a brown jacket.
Service for the Olympic Peninsula and
Image of two individuals standing in front of a building. Text that reads, Christine Parker Graham, Veterinary Medical Officer, Pacific Region Fish Health Program.
Abernathy Fish Tech Center.
Image of Christine and Allison standing at the edge of a raceway full of water at Abernathy Fish Technology Center.
So today we did some exams on our sturgeon, our big sturgeon, and they are going to be released into their native habitat in the Columbia River.
Underwater image of two white sturgeon.
So we're just making sure they're nice and healthy and ready to go.
I saw that you took tiny little samples. They look like scales. Could you tell us
Close-up image of the front and back of a sturgeon scoot.
what those are?
Yeah, definitely. So we removed a scale called
Text that reads, Sturgeon scoot.
a scoot, which is a firm, sharp scale on the side of the sturgeon, and that's to mark them. So if
Underwater image of a sturgeon with a scoot sample taken.
anyone encounters them in the future, they'll be able to know that those fish came from Abernathy, and then they can let us know where they found them. And then we also took some blood samples today so that we can send in
Image of 8 sturgeon blood samples in a white cooler.
to evaluate and make sure they're healthy and ready to go.
Image of a raceway full of sturgeon.
Can you tell
Underwater image of 2 white sturgeon.
us why they have those little whiskers underneath their snouts? What do they do and what are they called?
Yeah, definitely. So those cute little whiskers on their snouts are called
Underwater image of 2 white sturgeon. Text that reads, What are barbels? Sturgeon have an elongated snout and protrusible mouth like a vacuum cleaner. No, they don't have teeth. They lay on the bottom in dark, turbid waters and use sensory pores and whisker-like barbels to detect their prey.
barbels, and they're like sensing organs, so that they, when sturgeon travel along the bottom of the river, they can use those to sense things like prey or water movement, or if another sturgeon is nearby. So they're kind of like whiskers on a cat.
Allison, can you
Image of 3 biologists standing in a raceway, holding a sturgeon while it's getting its medical exam.
tell us why sturgeon are called living fossils?
Close-up of Allison holding a sturgeon while it's getting its medical exam. Text that reads, Allison Deary, PhD, Center Director, Abernathy Fish Technology Center.
Yes, absolutely. So sturgeon
Image of 2 women standing in front of trees. One is holding a sturgeon plush microphone.
are a very old group of fishes, and so
Image of 2 biologists releasing a sturgeon back into a raceway.
essentially why they're called living fossils is they first appeared in the fossil record about 200 million years ago.
Underwater image of a sturgeon.
And so that's essentially the same time as a lot of our
Text that reads, Living Dinosaurs.
dinosaurs. And funny story, my family actually jokes that I work at Jurassic Park, and they're not wrong because we have sturgeon, which are living fossils.
Image of 2 sturgeon with text that reads, How big do sturgeon get?
How big do sturgeon get?
Sturgeon can get really, really large. So historically, they could get over 10 feet in length on average. Now
Image of a biologist standing in a river holding a white sturgeon.
we see them smaller than that, but still adults are 6 feet and over.
Image of biologist standing in a raceway, placing a sturgeon into another raceway after its medical exam. Text that reads, Once the sturgeon checkups are complete, they are placed in a holding raceway for transportation the next day to their new home at Julia Butler Hanson Refuge for the Columbian White-Tailed Deer. Image of a Fish and Wildlife Service truck parking next to a raceway. Text that reads, Transportation Day. Image of the back of a truck full of water with a bubbler to provide oxygen. On Transportation Day, the sturgeon get a final text that reads, On Transportation Day, the sturgeon are loaded 3 at a time to be driven to their new home. Pit tag check and size measurement. After that, they're placed in the transportation truck. Image of biologists placing a sturgeon in the back of a transportation truck and carefully driven to their new image of biologists loading and locking down the top of the transportation truck. New refuge home. Image of the inside of a truck with a man driving. Image of a National Wildlife Refuge boundary sign. Text that reads, National Wildlife Refuge. Unauthorized entry prohibited.
Hey Tiny Tails, I'm Jake.
Text that reads, Jake Bonello, Assistant Refuge Manager, Julia Butler Hanson Refuge for the Columbian White-Tailed Deer.
I'm the refuge manager at the Julia Butler Hanson Refuge for the Columbian White-Tailed Deer here in Kathleen.
Image of biologists scouting a river for the best spot to transport sturgeon.
Washington, which is in the southwest corner of the state.
With the help of Jake, there's an image of biologists walking out a river and onto rocks. They're able to find the perfect spot to send off the sturgeon. Image of biologists standing around transportation truck parked in a river. Water is pouring out the back of the truck to release the sturgeon into the river. Image of a white sturgeon swimming up to the bank and then swimming away from camera. The sturgeon give a quick goodbye and then they're off to their new lives in the refuge.
Thanks for tuning in to another episode of Tiny Tales.
Image of a woman standing in front of trees holding a plush sturgeon as a microphone. Text that reads, edited by Tiffany Shepard.
I'm Tiffany, and for more information about Abernathy Fish Technology,
In association with Abernathy Fish Technology Center, Julia Butler Hanson Refuge for the Columbian White-Tailed Deer,
and white sturgeon, check out the links below. And as always,
a U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service Pacific Region production.
I'll see you outside. Bye!
Image of U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service logo animation. Text that reads, U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service, Department of the Interior.